So Susan Wright has been arrested for a hit and run. Yes, the same Susan Wright who was convicted in 2003 for taking her husband's life. This all happened on Thursday, which was April 30th, 2026. And it happened in Northwest Harris, Texas, where it was raining at the time. When she was turning onto Thial Road, she hit a green Kia Sportage and forced it off the road into the ditch. She then left the scene without stopping or returning, and the other driver says that there's about $7,000 worth of damage to their vehicle. Police broadcast her vehicle description and they were able to find her pretty quickly, and when they confronted her, she said that she didn't even see the Kia after she hit it and she thought that they had just left the scene. She also said that she had been in a DV dispute the weekend prior and that she was traumatized of cops because of this. And yes, this is the same Susan Wright who was convicted in 2004 of taking her husband's life in 2003 by tying him with no clothes to their bed and then giving him 193 sharp force injuries. She buried him in their backyard and claimed self-defense. She served 16 years of a 25-year sentence and was paroled in 2020. But at this time, we don't have any further updates for court dates for this hit and run. This is Shauna Hart. She was a 35-year-old mother of 5. She reported her estranged husband for assaulting her, and he was sentenced to a year in prison, but only served 5 months. And when he was released, he took her life. Shauna was from Billings, Montana, and all of her friends said that she lived and loved with her whole heart, and she was one of the best moms ever. She had been trying to leave her abusive relationship for years, and she was in the middle of a divorce with her estranged husband, Tanner Grove. There was a restraining order put into place at her request. And during that time, 32-year-old Tanner had been convicted of assault for putting his hands on Shauna. He was released in March, only 5 months into that 1-year sentence he was supposed to be serving. And on March 29th, 2026, he showed up armed to a residence where Hart was with her children gathering belongings. He said he was looking for Hart's boyfriend, who he alleged stole his bike, but he pointed his gun at 2 minors while he was there. So he was charged for that and violating the restraining order, which led to warrants being out for his arrest. On April 22nd, witnesses saw him pull up to Hart's residence, and she allegedly got in the SUV with him. And on April 23rd, surveillance caught that SUV being parked at a remote farmyard by Tanner. He got out, got his bicycle out of the trunk, sat on the hood and ate food, and then pedaled away with no cares. Her body was later found inside that vehicle where he left her, and she had died from GSW. He did try to run, but he was found and arrested. And now there's an outrage as prosecutors, community members, friends, family call for stiffer penalties. They're saying that under the current laws, the victim was failed. And she was. At least 23 people ages 16 to 30 have been injured in Oklahoma at what was supposed to be a Sunday Fun Day event. This all happened at the Spring Creek Park Scissortail Campground at Arcadia Lake. Arcadia Lake is about 13 miles north of Oklahoma City, and it's a pretty popular spot for camping and fishing and things like that. The event that happened yesterday, May 3rd, 2026, was an unsanctioned Sunday Fun Day event that had been advertised on social media. The flyer said food, drinks, music, good vibes, good people, and it attracted a lot of people. Witnesses state that there was an argument that broke out in the crowd of people shortly before everything went south. But they say that 2 men in ski masks approached the crowd on foot and then just started firing into the crowd. There were multiple 911 calls and police arrived to complete chaos.
Okay, they're here.
23 people ages 16 to 30 have been injured, but those are not all from being fired at. Some of them were trampled on in the chaos when everyone was trying to run away. Some of those people have been released with minor injuries, and some are being kept in very serious condition. But at this time, there have been no deaths reported. The scene was locked down overnight, and there was a huge manhunt, but they have not been able to find the people that did this. Police say this party was promoted online across multiple social media platforms, so anyone could have seen that it was happening and just showed up. And there are videos floating around that everyone seemed to be having a good time and getting along right before everything went completely wrong. To me, this definitely feels like someone saw this being advertised online and then planned to show up and do what they did. But police still aren't sure if these people that showed up and did this knew anyone at the party. This is so scary to think that you could show up to a publicly advertised event and something like this happen. An entire family, including 2 children ages 8 and 4, have been found dead inside their home in Houston. Yesterday, May 4th, 2026, police responded to a welfare check in the 2100 block of Kingston Street. This all happened at around 5:30 p.m., and the welfare check was called in because the babysitter hadn't heard from the family since Sunday and was starting to get concerned. When police entered the home, they found all 4 victims dead from GSW. They were Matthew Mitchell, who is 52, the father, and the alleged perpetrator. Thai Mitchell, who is 39, who was the mother and also is reported to have been pregnant. Maya Mitchell, who is their 8-year-old daughter, and Max Mitchell, who is the couple's 4-year-old son. Police say that evidence at the scene shows that Matthew, the father, took the lives of the 2 children, his pregnant wife, and then himself. At this time, no motive has been disclosed, and it still remains unclear. Matthew and Thai were well known in Houston as a power couple, and they were restaurateurs. They were Houston natives, and they had basically built an empire from their shared love of travel and food. Their restaurants and ventures were Traveler's Table, Traveler's Cart, and Foreign Fare. And both of their restaurants remained open as normal today with no statements made. The babysitter hadn't heard from them since Sunday, so police are saying that they believe that this all happened either Sunday night or early Monday morning. There are no reports of domestic disturbances. All of the neighbors seemed to think that everything was going fine for the family. Thai even hosted a restaurant association meeting last week, and everything seemed to be normal. The community seems to be in shock, and no one seems to know why this happened. Okay, so in Tennessee right now, there's an active manhunt going on for a retired U.S. Special Forces veteran who tried to take his wife's life and then fled. This all happened early Friday morning, May the 1st, 2026, at around 1:30 a.m. Police had responded to a DV call at the home of Craig Berry and his wife. There had been a physical altercation, and when she escaped and got away from him and to her vehicle, he came outside and fired at her. He actually hit her vehicle and her in the process. She somehow managed to drive away and call 911 while being in distress, and he jumped in his vehicle to chase after her. But he ended up crashing into the woods, and then he fled on foot. When deputies got there, he had already vanished into the woods, and his wife was taken to the hospital, and she has been released in stable condition. So now there's a warrant out for him and an active manhunt. He's a retired U.S. Army Special Forces veteran, and he left the Army as a Sergeant First Class. So he's in great shape. He's an excellent swimmer and runner, and he has survival skills. Police believe this is what's helping him stay hidden. He is armed and was last seen wearing camouflage clothing. Out of respect for the victim, her name has not been released yet, but we do know that she's a teacher at a local school. There's also no information that has been released yet around why this started or how it started. But this is day 5 of the manhunt, and other than catching him running on a trail cam, there's been no sight of him. And officials say that they're not ruling out that he has someone outside helping him. In Charlotte, North Carolina, a 19-year-old has lost her life in a heartbreaking way, and the suspect, a repeat offender who was walking free. Her name is Isabella Stroop, and she was found on May 1st, 2026 in her apartment. And her boyfriend, 24-year-old Thomas Hamilton, who has been her boyfriend for around 4 years, has been arrested for taking her life. He's also charged with SA because what he allegedly did to her is awful. At around 3:30 a.m. on May the 1st, Hamilton had called police and met them at a QT gas station, letting them know that his girlfriend had stopped breathing and he thought she had had a heart attack while they were being intimate. Officers then responded to their shared apartment, and they got there around 3:40, and that's when they found Isabella. And after an autopsy, Hamilton was arrested because the medical examiner said someone did this to her intentionally. Isabella had been found in the bedroom of her apartment with no clothes and tied to the bed with a tow strap. She had multiple broken bones and several sharp force injuries. The medical examiner said that they could find proof of prolonged torture over a long period of time. And the affidavit explicitly says that she was not even able to give consent because of the condition that she was in. Police were able to pull several pieces of evidence from the apartment, including a baseball bat, which helped them put the picture together for what actually happened. But what everyone is so upset about is the fact that Hamilton had 10 arrests since 2020. He had a long rap sheet. He was a career criminal who seemingly just kept being let go. Isabella's family also said that she had cut ties with them because he had forced her to. And her family and friends are asking for accountability. In Plant City, Florida, a mother, her mother, and 2 of her 3 children all had their lives taken, and at this time, nobody's in custody. The victims are 28-year-old Haley Dempsey and her 4-year-old child and her 4-month-old infant. And also Haley's mother, or the children's grandmother, Valerie DeBow, and she was 55. Haley did have a third child, and that child was found at the scene unharmed. On Sunday, May 4th, 2026, officers were called to a disturbance at the 300 block of West Tever Street. They found Haley and her 2 children, all with GSWs. The 2 children were pronounced at the scene, but Haley was alive and was taken to the hospital where she passed. And that third child that was unharmed was taken to safety. During the investigation, officers went to Haley's mom, Valerie's house, which is about a half a mile away, and that's when they found her also dead from GSW. Neighbors in the area reporting that Haley and her children were found in a wooded area in some bushes, and that it appeared like Haley had been trying to flee with her children. She actually was carrying her infant when everything happened. Just 2 days earlier, on May 1st, officers had responded to a DV call at the North Burton Street home, where Haley and her partner were in a disagreement. She had confronted him about cheating or infidelity, allegedly. Haley left the residence with her children and her mother after her mother came to help. And neighbors are reporting that they saw Haley's husband, Jay Dempsey, on Saturday, which is the day before all of this happened, putting on a heavy-duty vest and loading some things into his trunk. Shortly after Haley, her mother, and her children were found, police took Jay into custody to question him, but he was released because they didn't have enough evidence to keep him. And as soon as they let him go, he deleted every one of his social media accounts and left town. At 3 a.m. on Monday, the day after all of this happened, he was seen walking out of the woods and getting into Haley's car and leaving town. So at this time, there's nobody in custody for this awful thing that happened, and Plant City police are asking for tips and surveillance if anyone has it. Okay, let's talk about the hantavirus. I did some digging and this is what I found. The ship is the MV Hondius and it departed from Argentina on April 1st, 2026. This ship had planned stops in places like Antarctica, South Georgia, and St. Helena. And it was moored in Cabo Verde until yesterday and is now headed towards Spain's Canary Islands. There were 88 passengers and 59 crew on board, so about 147 people. And of those people, there have been 5 confirmed hantavirus infections, 3 suspected, and 3 deaths. Investigators are saying that they think this all started from rodent exposure, probably in Argentina or stowaways on the ship. On April 6th is when the first death happened, and it was a 70-year-old Dutch man who died on the ship. There was no initial testing, but he had fever, headache, GI issues, and respiratory issues. His wife, who had obviously been close to him, disembarked with his body in St. Helena, and she rapidly declined. She died on April 26th in Johannesburg, and there was a PCR test done that confirmed hantavirus. 2 more people got sick on April 24th and April 28th, and the woman that got sick on April 28th died on May the 2nd. The PCR tests that were done on these people showed hantavirus, and they're suspecting that it's the Andes virus, which is the only form that can be transmitted from human to human. The ship is under strict quarantine and they're not letting anybody off, but now they're saying that earlier on in St. Helena, actually 29 to 40 people got off the ship. This was prior to them realizing what was going on. So now those people are being tracked globally, and some of the passengers that got off the boat have tested positive in Europe. And contact tracing is now active in several countries, including the US. The early symptoms of this virus are pretty flu-like, and then the later symptoms do progress rapidly. Some of the late symptoms can be super low blood pressure and fluid in the lungs. At this time, there is no antiviral or vaccine, and treatment is only supportive. Because this virus is rodent-borne and this is a luxury cruise, it's kind of bizarre that this happened. Okay, so this mom, her name is Roxana, she drove her 3-year-old drunk, left him in the car overnight, and he was found dead the next day. Okay, so this all happened on May 1st, 2026. Roxana had taken Vincent to a family member's house where there was a gathering of adults and kids. Even though she had been drinking there, she still put her 3-year-old Vincent in the back of her car and drove home at around 11 p.m. After she got home, she got out of her car, went inside, took a bath, she played around on social media, and continued to drink until about 5:30 a.m. She says she fell asleep and she woke up at about 11:30 a.m. and she told police that she didn't know where Vincent was, so she looked for him for a couple hours. She then called 911 because she found him in the backseat of the locked car at around 1:30 p.m. When paramedics got there, they said there were no signs of life at all and that the inside of the car was about 113 degrees. His cause of death was listed as heat stroke, but in his autopsy, it showed that he had first-degree burns on his thighs, forearms, legs, and arms from struggling to free himself from the seat belt to get out. They say that he was actually likely alive until around 9 to 10 a.m., but by the time they got to him, he was gone. Roxana is in custody, and prosecutors say they want the maximum, which could reach up to 50 years. Prosecutors also say that Roxana and Vincent's dad had been going through a nasty custody battle. And in court, they showed text messages that she had sent to Vincent's father saying that she was going to get even with him and he was going to pay the price. She also said, "Your son will suffer the consequences." It seemed to be going both ways. Roxana had filed several DV accusations against Vincent's dad as well. And now people are asking, like, how much of this was accidental or neglect and how much of it could have been intentional. I have so many questions about this because how does this even happen? This man allegedly took the life of his wife and his unborn child back in 2024. And with trial approaching in June of this year, he decided, hey, it'll be a good idea to cut off my ankle monitor and flee to Italy. His name is Lee Gilly, and his wife's name was Krista Gilly, and she was actually 8 to 9 weeks pregnant with their third child. He has been captured in Italy, and he will be brought back to the United States for trial, so his plan didn't work. In October of 2024, he had called 911 to let them know that Krista had taken too much medication and was unresponsive, and he was doing CPR. He told police that they had been arguing, he fell asleep, and he woke up and found her like that. But her autopsy actually showed that she died from compression of her neck. Lee was arrested, and when he was arrested, he told police that bad things happen to good people and that he was being set up. His story collapsed pretty quickly, and he was flagged as a flight risk and given a $1 million bond. He was released with a GPS monitor and told that he had to turn over his passport and stay in Texas. Court filings show that he was actually having an affair, and when he got out of jail, he continued this relationship with this woman. He even told her about his escape plan. In March of 2024, before all this happened, he had posted on Reddit saying he was bored with his relationship and that he was interested in college-aged females with benefits. His trial was originally set to start this month, May of 2026, and it has been moved to June of 2026. On May 1st, he cut off his ankle monitor, and there actually was an alert sent, but for some reason there was a delay in getting that alert over to the judge. He then flew from Texas to Canada and Canada to Italy using fake documents. He had a forged Belgian passport, ID, and other documents with a completely different name. Italian border police actually spotted the fakes when he got there and denied him entry and took him into immigration. That's where he admitted his real identity and that he was fleeing trial. He even requested asylum in Italy, saying that he was being wrongfully accused. As of today, he's still in Italian custody and he's expected in Italian courts soon. But U.S. authorities are coordinating with them to get him back here for his trial. And friends are upset because he fled to Italy because Krista loved Italy. It was one of her favorite places. She studied abroad there, and she actually took a girls' trip there in May of 2024, right before all of this happened. And Krista's family says that they're very upset that he made bond so easily and so quickly and was able to be free and then flee. In Somerset, Kentucky, a 44-year-old man severely injured a couple with a baseball bat because they turned off their Wi-Fi that he had been using without permission. This all happened at about 5:43 a.m. on May 3rd, 2026, at a residence on Waddle Street in Ferguson, Kentucky. And the bat-wielding man is 44-year-old Jonathan Gross. This was apparently an apartment complex, and Gross and his victims lived in separate units. For their privacy, the victims have not been named at this time. Gross had been using their Wi-Fi without permission, so they turned it off, and he allegedly went to their apartment, knocked on the door, and told them that he was going to take their lives if they didn't turn it back on. He went back to his apartment and realized the Wi-Fi still wasn't back on, so he got a baseball bat and went back to theirs. They both received blunt force injuries to the head, and they were severely injured. Somehow, the female victim got away, and she was able to call 911. Gross actually hid in a bedroom, and police had to go in and physically take him out. And now he's been charged with disorderly conduct and with trying to take their lives. He has a $1 million cash bond and a preliminary hearing set for May 13th. He had allegedly been drinking when this happened, and he does have priors from 2015 and 2017 for drinking too much in public. He also has other disorderly conduct charges and several similar things.